Hi everyone.
Hello.
I'm Laura Foley. I am the Cheater of Death by PowerPoint. And this evening I am going to tell you the 7 rules for great presentations. I'm sure a lot of you have been at meetings where a presentation goes on forever, seems pointless. Does that sound familiar? The speaker seems unrehearsed, the speaker goes off on tangents, or sometimes even the speaker seems like he really doesn't know or care what you as an audience member wants from the presentation. Does that sound familiar? Well, I don't know if anybody, a bad presenter, good presenter, goes and deliberately makes a crappy presentation. I just never heard someone say, I'm going to bore someone to death today, that's my goal. But they do it because they don't understand that there are certain rules that you need to follow to make a good presentation. And what makes a presentation good is that it has a purpose, it has focus, it incorporates what the audience wants to hear, and it gives the audience direction. What are you supposed to do with that information? So the purpose of tonight's meeting, tonight's presentation, is to tell you the 7 rules of great presentations, so that the next time you are writing a speech, you're delivering a presentation, you're speaking in public, you can think about these rules and use them to make better, more meaningful, more impactful presentations. Now, rule number 1 is to start strong. You only have about 60 seconds to get someone's attention before they start wandering or reading their email, their Twitter, whatever. In that 60 seconds, you have to establish your own credibility. You have to inform the audience what they're going to hear. You have to ensure that they want to listen to you. And this happens very quickly. So if you go up in front of a crowd and you say, hi, I'm Laura, and I'm kind of here, these are my slides, and I've never seen them before, and I hope I don't really screw up that bad. And that's really time wasting, even if you are indeed nervous. Or if you, on the other hand, come in and say, hey, innovation women, how is everyone doing in Boston? Yay! And you pump up the crowd and do all of this kind of meaningless fluff. That really eats into that time that you have been given to influence your audience and to let them know what they're going to hear. The way I started my presentation was something called a bluff statement. That is an acronym for bottom line up front. I told you what I was going to talk about and why it was going to help you. Other good ways to start a presentation are to tell a story. A really good way to do that is to tell the beginning of the story and then stop at the cliffhanger. Then you go into the body of your presentation and your supporting information and things you want people to know about, and then you resolve it at the end. Another good way to start a presentation can be a startling statistic. So something like, did you know that in this room, one of you in 2 years' time will be a startling statistic? Or a headline, a current events headline, can really bring people into the moment. Another good way to start a presentation very strongly is to ask a rhetorical question. This gets people thinking, it gets people questioning. So if the purpose of your presentation is to change the way people think about something, you might ask a counterintuitive question that they have to think about. So those are all very good, strong ways to start a presentation. Number 2 rule is that the focus should be on the audience and not yourself. It's hard sometimes though, because when people are speaking, especially in a sales call, they believe that they have to tell everyone about their company. We're so great, we've been in business since blah, we have this great building in an office park, we do this, that, and the other thing, and here's our client billboard list. But that is really taking the focus on yourself. It's me, 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 and this is what this looks like. This is a typical tech sales deck. We've got this, here's your team, there's the title slide, we've got our lovely office park building, and then this goes on and on and on about this company. And it isn't until we get to slide number 15 that they start talking about the audience. They start wondering, what does the client want? Let's find out. You really should be focusing on the audience. Why are they here? You're here presumably because you'd like to learn how to be better presenters. So that's what I'm telling you how to do. If I found that you were busy and you started taking notes and you were really into it, I'd be pretty happy about that. If, on the other hand, I saw you were starting doing Twitter and email and stuff, I would change what I was talking about to bring you back in. So getting that audience feedback is important. The purpose of your presentation is to answer the audience questions, to guide them to solve their problems. And you get that when you focus on them. And you tell stories. Anyone ever seen a TED Talk? Do you watch TED Talks because you are a super big fan of quantum physics or molecular biology? Maybe, maybe not. But probably you watch them because these people are excellent storytellers. They talk about the journey of discovery, of how they became a scientist, or what setbacks did they suffer, or how did they overcome a very tragic childhood in order to become the wild success that they are today. Stories are relatable. Stories are memorable. How many of you remember the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears? When's the last time you heard it? It sticks in your head, right? This is the opposite of a storytelling slide. That is bullet point city. But it's talking about something that's really very emotional for people. It's talking about low vision, losing your eyesight. This is very clinical, and it doesn't evoke the sense of somebody losing their eyesight. So redesigning that, you'll see I chose a photograph where everything is blurry except for that guy. And if I wanted to make it stronger, I could make up a story. This is Bob. And Bob is an independent man. He's in his 70s. He still drives to the golf course. He still drives to his clubs. He's very active in the community. But he's losing his sight. It's terrifying for him because he's finding it much more difficult to drive. And he's afraid that he'll go to the pharmacy and pick the wrong medication because he can't read the box anymore. And he's too proud to say anything about it. So Bob isn't just Mr. royalty-free clip art guy. Bob might be your dad, might be your husband, might be your uncle. So when you bring Bob into it, you make a story that people remember. In order to get to this point where you're being able to tell stories and have a strong beginning, you need to plan your presentation. The first thing you do is, what is your presentation for? What is your goal? I've told you that my goal for the presentation is to teach you things. The goal for a sales presentation isn't to get in front of somebody. It is to sell 50,000 parts to XYZ company and solve the problem they've been having on their production line. Your goal might be, I want to convince these voters that they should vote this way and not that way. I want to tell people about the importance of whatever it is. So you set your goals. When you know what you want to accomplish, then your presentation just falls into line. And you guide people down this path of information. You curate the information. And that means that you only give certain information out. You edit your stuff. How many of you have seen data dump slides where everything that everyone knows about a subject is in there, and the guy just yap about all these crazy tables and graphs? Yeah. It's hard, it's difficult as an audience member to figure out what they're trying to talk about. You really need to have one main focus with 3 or 5 talking points that lead up to it. And that's where practice comes in after that. Practice, 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 very important. You'll notice that I'm not reading anything. I've been practicing. I'm able to maintain eye contact with you because I've practiced. And I'm not doing this. Practice, practice, practice. Reading the slides, it doesn't help anybody. Nobody likes to be read to like that. Rule number 7 is to be excited, enthusiastic, energetic about your subject. I hope that my energy is communicating to you that I really like my job. I like making people better presenters. I like helping them. This isn't just a phony baloney act. This is me. And by bringing that energy to your presentations, when you're presenting your story, your sales call, your pitch deck, that's going to make people really take notice. These 7 rules, they're not complicated, but it is something you have to practice. But I can tell you that if you're able to incorporate these 7 rules into your next presentations, you're going to find your presentations are more meaningful, that they are more actionable, that your audience enjoys the presentation more, and that you're able to tell the audience what they're supposed to do in a very clear way. I hope that after this presentation, after you learn these 7 rules, that your next presentation is going to be great.